Hey everybody, we've got a super special guest here today at Man Sewing to teach us all about paper piecing. Let's get started. That's right. If you know my dear friend Violet Craft, and yes, that is her real name, by the way, right? I love that.
Yes, it is.
You know how amazing her abstractions patterns are in the really large scale for paper piecing, but she's brought it down mini and teaching us how to do it by hand. But Violet, this is your show, baby. Take it away. This is awesome.
So today I found something else Rob doesn't know how to do. And if you know our relationship, maybe you know that the last time I also found something that Rob didn't know how to do, which I think is hard to do. So now it's just my personal challenge. Rob has never English paper pieced before. This is one of my new patterns. This is the Lion English Paper Piecing Project. English paper piecing and foundation paper piecing are similar in that they both use a paper foundation, but they're very different. With foundation paper piecing, which is what my large abstractions animals are, you have a paper template in which you physically sew the fabric onto the paper, and you use a sewing machine to do that. With English paper piecing, we are still using paper foundations, such as this package of templates. And we will be wrapping the fabric around this template and then hand sewing each of the templates together.
Right.
What people are very familiar with is something similar to these guys, which is a grandmother's flower garden pattern.
Right.
You see a lot of these around in different antique stores and on your grandma's bed. These are English paper pieced. They all have paper templates in the back, and we've wrapped the fabric around them, and they've all been hand sewn together.
Okay, I got a question.
Okay.
Okay, so just in case everyone else didn't know, because I just learned this recently as well, why paper at all? Whether you're doing it by machine or by hand, why are we using paper?
The paper foundation gives you the shape that you need to follow. It holds your fabric in place for you while you sew it together.
That's what I thought.
One thing about paper piecing that I love is that you can use different fabrics that do not maybe traditionally work as well with traditional piecing. So if you're using something with a really wide open weave or something that's slippery that moves and loses its shape, the foundation paper holds it in place so that it won't stretch and move while you've got it in there to sew it together.
And you're doing some wild angles and bias and all that
You're
stuff.
doing wild,
Thank you.
crazy
Perfect.
angles.
That's what I needed to know.
So with foundation piecing, you work with all these different angles. It doesn't matter. The paper tells you where it goes. You don't have to be accurate as long as you're following the lines.
Right.
Foundation piecing, what you may see here is every one of these is a Y seam, but it doesn't matter because we're sewing it by hand, and so you can get different angles that you can't achieve when you're sewing it on a sewing machine.
Nice. Nice. Okay. You were starting to tell me, though, that you just love sewing the same thing over and over again.
Right. So
we've been practicing a little bit.
You can only sew so many super large animal abstractions quilts, and I really wanted a hobby that I could take with me. I wanted something when I'm at the kids' swimming lessons or when I'm sitting next to their fields that I can have in my lap and that I can take on the go. So that's why I got started with these hexagons. I've seen everyone else doing it. I really wanted in on it. But then I got really tired of making the same thing over and over again because for me, the fun in the animals is watching them come together and producing this piece. And I wasn't getting that from this. And that's why I came up with turning my animals, some of them, into these English paper pieced projects.
Cool. I'm so proud of you.
So
awesome. So awesome.
I started with the lion just because he was kind of iconic for me. He was my first big abstractions quilt that people really know, and so I really wanted to bring him down into a small scale size where you can put him together. The papers come inside of the pattern. All of your templates
and
are
it's not even just
paper,
really. It's like a heavy
cardstock.
Or
so we've got
it looks
probably
really
hard
good and
to
easy
tell,
to work with.
But it's firm, so it will hold the paper or hold the fabric in place. These just pop apart, and that's how you get the individual pieces.
Right.
And then we've got, which is similar to the abstractions patterns, you can see that these have the little numbers and the shapes on them that tell you where they go in the piecing. So this is your map that shows you where all the pieces go, and down here you have your chart that shows you each of the fabrics.
Right.
So once you've got your kit,
and I'm going to do a trick here too, because I know that I have two different cameras set up around here, and they work differently. And I'm always used to showing everybody at home this way, but we can show them upside down.
So I just did everything backwards.
No, you didn't. You did everything perfect. But I want them to see that you've actually included the sewing machine here for me too. So I appreciate that. I just want to make sure they can get that.
So once you've got your kit, and it has all of your fabrics in
Right.
place, you can see that it matches up. I like to take a little piece and glue it on here so that I've got the exact fabric on.
A little swatch of the
A little
fabric.
swatch,
Right.
so that, because sometimes the colors don't come across
Sure,
as well.
sure.
And then if you want to change the map and do a totally different colorway, you can do that. And if you kind of follow the same gradation as
I
far
wanted to point
as-
that out.
So we've got 5
Right.
goldens here that make up the face.
Got
If you
it.
wanted to change that so that you have a, say, a blue lion,
Right.
if you follow that same gradient from lightest to darkest, you will maintain those highs and lows in the face and get the same highlights and lowlights to be able to
Perfect.
change it out. And then you just put your swatch right over the top of those colors so that you can follow it along.
Love it. Love it.
So we are going to get this party started.
Okay.
I'm
Warming
pulling
up.
this gray
Okay.
right out, and I have a piece here. It's got the sewing machine on it, which in my chart showed that it was this color of gray.
Okay.
What I like to do is to find, take all of these and sort them all into piles so that I have
So all your sewing
of
machine
my sewing
pieces are all
machines.
in one
Yes.
pile. Okay.
And then I can take them and lay them all out on my fabric all at one time in just that color and do one color all at once.
Okay.
I am going to use, you can use a little bit of glue on the back of this. I prefer to not use a glue stick on this particular part because I think sometimes it shows through on the final project.
Right, and your papers are reusable.
And your papers
so
are
a lot
reusable.
of these things you've tested and tested and tested to make sure your
Yes,
papers remain reusable,
exactly.
right? Okay.
So what I have here is a tape roller. There are hundreds of these out there. You get them at any craft store
Okay.
or office supply store. And what's really important is that it's double-sided and it rolls off here very easily and that it is not dots. A lot of these you'll find that are little tiny dots inside, and the little dots tend to stick to the fabric and not come off, and you don't want to be picking anything away. So if you just take and roll a little piece on there, then you can put it on.
Okay, question again.
Yep.
So we always can see our number, obviously, and
Yes.
our symbol, so that later on we know which number it is again.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you're always putting this tape roller, if I try to put this onto the fabric,
Right.
it won't even stick.
Got it.
So you're always putting it onto
Perfect.
the paper side and then placing it on. And
Great.
this is one of the things I love about this. It's repositionable over and over
Okay.
again. If you don't like where it was at, if you get them laid out and you don't have enough room and you need to move things around, you can lay it
Really
back
thought
on.
this through.
I've done it a little bit.
Yeah. Good. Awesome.
And I try to make everything as easy and as accomplishable as possible. And that's really my end goal. So
We all appreciate that.
thanks. Once it's on there,
Okay.
we are going to then take them and cut around them. So
Perfect.
that tape does not have to be very secure. It's just to hold it in place so that you can move things around until you've wrapped
Because
your...
we need a seam allowance, right?
Yes.
Got it.
So you can use a rotary cutter, any rotary cutter.
That was my suggestion.
If you really want to put a ruler around this to measure out a seam allowance,
got you.
you can, but it's unnecessary. You can just take your scissors and rough cut around here. You want at least 1/4 of an inch all the way around. I like mine to be a little heavy. So
Meaning thicker than quarter inch?
thicker than 1/4 of an inch. So I will like to go with like a 3/8, but honestly, it's not completely even all the time, and that
And
will
that
be fine.
seam doesn't get in the way later on or anything like that?
It does not.
Okay.
It does not. So now that we've got it
Beautiful.
on here,
Okay.
we are going to take glue. I prefer to glue baste. There are several different ways to baste your fabric around your templates. What I think probably a lot of people have seen is where you take it and fold it back and then sew through the paper. I really prefer glue basting, and
Okay.
there are several different glue sticks out there. There are these guys that come along. They're in a pen shape.
Okay.
And then they come with refills, which is
cool.
nice. And then there are like our lapel sticks.
The lapel stick.
lapel
right.
stick.
Right.
And then we are just going to take this
Still got to get him to fix the packaging on that.
and roll
Okay.
some glue onto our paper.
And it's okay, it got on the fabric a little bit.
It's totally fine.
Okay.
And we're going to fold this back.
Sweet.
And hold it in place for just a second until it adheres itself to the paper.
Okay, great.
There we go. So one side basted. Now we're going to go around.
And you're just literally going to work your way all
I'm
the way around the
literally going to
template?
work my way around.
One-
And see, I'm
okay.
putting it on the fabric.
Oh, so it'll stick back down later.
so that this side.
Do you ever find that too much glue makes it hard to hand stitch through? Because we are going to be
No.
doing the hand stitching word in a
I've
minute
not
here.
had a problem
Okay.
with that. Not with
Awesome.
any of these water-based glues that
Got
are
it.
meant for sewing. I've
Got
not
it.
had any problems at all.
Got it.
And the only place you're going to sew is right on your edge. You're not
Okay.
really getting into your
Okay.
glue so much.
You can tell I haven't done this before. I've seen it. I've wanted to. One of my sewing teachers early on tried to get me to do a little bit of paper piecing on an airplane when we were flying.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of hexagons and I liked it and I saw the benefits of it. But at that point I was really into doing like ocean-based collage and stuff. And so I just didn't see a use for it in my skill set. But I really love the way you've got your animal faces coming together.
Well, you know, it is kind of similar to doing handwork when you're doing hand applique.
Right.
But the difference is that you can get these really fine points and
Right.
sharp points and
Right.
angles that you can't get if you were just to applique.
Yes, but I wasn't doing hand applique. I was doing fusible web and machine quilting it all down and calling it a piece of art.
Okay, let me be the one to tell you that I never thought that I would do this much hand piecing.
Right.
I was not a hand piecer before this. I've not done a lot of hand applique. I did not know that I was going to love this so much and want to put these pieces together. So now that we've got that together, let's show you. We've got this little, we call these dog ears out here, just completely fine. I leave it there and I will show you why when we get to some of our pieces here in just a minute.
So that thing's ready.
It's ready. So you just do this for all the pieces.
And the quilt's done.
Put them aside. Yeah, done.
Okay, easy. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
Not quite. So now we're going to take our map. And like Rob said, you're always looking at the side that is up towards you.
Right.
And that matches
Perfect.
the side here. So we can find piece 115,
Okay.
piece 115, and it matches. So this is always, you're looking at the reverse of what the finished product is going to be.
Right.
So that way you're not having to flip it over all the time, figure out where the piece is.
Very well
It just
designed.
matches
Cool.
one to the other.
Very
Okay.
cool. Okay.
So I have these two pieces here,
Okay.
piece 68 and 67, which are right here, that go together.
Okay.
And they do happen to be the same
Does
color.
it matter? Like, let's say the person gets the kit at home. They've got everything prepped out. They've got it all cut out and basted and all this. But aren't they going to start right in the middle originally? Or does it matter where they start if they're really building out the pattern?
I numbered these in a way that I thought everyone would start with the numbers that I gave them. Start with one,
one,
add
two,
two,
okay.
and then work your way around.
Because that's up in the eye
Yeah,
area.
it's up here
I
in
see
the
it.
eye.
Okay.
I've found that everyone kind of picks their own starting points. Some people like to start in a corner and work their way down. Some people like to really start with that face. It is not going to matter
Because it's
in the
paper,
end.
because we have all the edges
because
working for
all
ourselves.
the units have to go together anyway.
Love it.
Unlike some other patterns, these units can come together however you want them.
Sorry, at first that didn't make sense. Now it totally makes sense.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt
well,
you that
here's
way.
one. Let's show that since
Okay.
you just asked about it. This one is, we've already got the whole face done.
Right.
And we've got these side pieces on.
It's almost like a Princess Leia of lions right now with just the buns on the
does.
side,
It's got
I
the
think.
buns.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
So you can see all your papers on the back, and we've done this in order for the most part, but there are
Right.
definitely some pieces missing down here because we just really wanted to get those side pieces on.
Right.
It's really whatever you're feeling
Great.
at the time.
Great.
Yeah. So we've got piece 67 and 68. We know they go together right here. This is the seam that we're going to sew. So we put them right sides together, just like you would in any other sewing.
Got it.
And your little tabs, I leave them there because when you see, if you have it folded out, they help to give you places where they tuck into each other and lay over. And it sort of helps some of the pieces nest as you start to get into some of these different angles. So we've got these right sides together. We're going to move this stuff out of our way. And now we're going to talk about thread and needles.
Got it.
I think in English paper piecing, one of the things that can most affect your displeasure or pleasure with your project is what needle you're using and what thread you are using.
Meaning it's going to make it more challenging or you're going to see more when you're done?
Both.
Yes. Got it.
All of the above.
Okay.
So I really love to use something similar to this. We've got here these Richard Hemming large eye kneaders. They're milliners and in a size 9 or a 10. It's
Okay.
a pretty sharp, I like a longer needle, and it's pretty thin. It's got a nice size eye on it. It's going to help it to slip through the fabric easily. So that part is really nice.
Okay, so
now,
Milner's 9 you had.
a milliner's 9.
Milliner's
yeah,
9.
9 and 10 are
Okay.
both I'm really happy with. Thread, even more important.
Okay.
Because the thread, you really need to just slide through and glide through the fabric as you go. And then afterwards, you need it to nestle in and disappear.
Okay.
So this is the Superior Threads bottom line,
Right.
which is Superior's bottom thread. It's
Right,
what their,
bobbin-
their
like a bobbin
standard
fill.
bobbin
Right.
thread. I found this when I started long arming and fell in love. I now use it
Lot
for
of people love this
binding
stuff.
and I use it for this. It just slips right through.
Now, I see, though, that you use the same threading on the needle trick that I used years ago, which is a full loop tied in a knot at the back, so my needle never comes off my thread.
Absolutely.
The little bit of hand sewing I do it that way.
You do it that way.
Yeah.
And I also love to have a double ply. I feel like it's a little stronger.
Sure.
And then this is a 60 weight, so it is it a 60? Make sure.
60 or 80?
This one's 60.
Okay.
I also love to use an 80 weight when you can get it, and a poly or a poly blend. And we are just going to take our needle and go right on the edge. Now, I actually don't like to go, sorry, I'm super shaky.
Yeah,
it's just who I am.
You know what it is? It's the energy from the cameras coming back. Everyone out there is cheering for you, so just wave back at them because I do the same thing. I'm up here like Mr. Earthquake Pills. It happens to all of us. Don't you worry about it.
So you'll notice that I'm not all the way through the very tip point.
Yeah,
Can you see that?
I do.
So the reason is when I go to put the next one on the other side, like when we've got this open,
that makes sense, yeah.
and we add the next one on top,
Right.
I like that space there to help get the next piece into place and to not already have it tightened down so tight.
Roger
so
that.
you can kind of ease the fabric in as you go. We'll close it when we put the next piece on.
Okay.
We're talking, what, a 32nd of an inch. It's so small, but I like to not be all the way out there on that
Oh,
tip.
we should add micrometers to the supply list for today's workshop.
So I've got...
And the knot's going to
Knot?
hold it. You're not going to worry about looping back through that or anything
I am
else.
not.
Okay.
I've just got it knotted on there. And then we're going to go very tight little stitches. And you'll see with this thread, I'm even going to do more than one. I'm gonna
And
do
you're
two.
entering at the same side, so you're doing like a whip stitch.
It is a whip stitch. It's a very tight
She thinks I do.
whip stitch. And now we just keep going.
When I saw you last, we were out at Sisters, Oregon for the big quilt show out there, and I had forgotten to sew labels on all my quilts.
So you learned how to whip stitch?
Well, I had 60 quilts in the show. Yeah, I got pretty quick at whip stitch. I had about 20 some odd labels to put on in about a week's time. We all participated. So you're going to go all the way to the end of that line.
I am going to go all the way to the end. And when I get to the end, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go almost to the very edge, but I am not going to try to pull these 2 points really super tight together because it'll just cause puckering in the end. If that little hole is there, that's completely fine. You'd rather have the hole than a pucker.
Got it.
Where those two pieces come together.
And you'll knot off and everything like that at the end of it?
Yep. And I'll knot it, and then I'll find my next piece and add it on.
And these pieces stay here forever, or do you ever trim those off?
No, they stay there forever.
Okay.
Just like in our regular quilting.
Right? They just go that way?
They just go that way. And they help to make it nest on the other side.
Boy, that looks clean. Yeah. Does it get challenging when you have to put all the big pieces together?
Not really. And I have a piece here that we've done because I want to show you what it looks like. You might think all these crazy angles, how do you get them to come together? Here's one that we've done that's almost finished.
Okay.
I'll do one of these. And then you can see that when I went to put my borders together, I put all these together first.
Yeah, that would make
and then
sense,
I'm adding them on as one big line. So I'm not knotting off after each one.
Right.
I'm continuing on. But I think something that people don't always realize is that when you've got these and they're holding them out there and they're wondering how this piece of fabric and can stay, there is no reason to not fold your paper. Give yourself the cleanest, straightest line possible and just fold that paper right over so that you are working
in a straight line.
In a straight line.
But because you've used such a nice cardstock in your kits, you can fold it and unfold it and reuse it for more multiple
pull it right
line
back
patterns.
out again. And then when we get to the next piece, we'll do the same thing. When we go to put this one on, we would then fold this line out and flatten it so that we've always got a straight line.
I just love it.
And you just go corner to corner. If you're really concerned about a piece coming in and you feel like it's not lining up correctly, knot off on this side and then start over here and work your way back to the edge that's already done.
Okay, great tip.
Just another tip.
Great tip.
Once we've got all these pieces together, what we're left with looks a little bit like this.
Okay.
You can see that our seam allowances are all different sizes. We've got everything tucked in here, and now we just need to pull our papers.
Is there a trick to that?
It comes out so easily.
Right.
So we'll just pick one. I'm going to go right here with 23, and we just pull our paper off.
And I can kind of hear the glue coming out.
You hear it?
Yep.
It comes right off.
Not distorting the fabric or anything?
Nope, not at all. And then we're just going to give it a little pop, and they pull right out.
Just right like that.
And then you can save these and reuse them again.
So I think that, at least in my opinion, would be an advantage to not thread basting onto the original template piece because you're just gone and you don't have to go through and trim all those other
and you
things
don't
out.
have to pull them all out. Yeah.
Amazing. You were so talented.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Did we teach everybody at home everything they needed to know? We got the paper out. Is there any tricks to finishing on quilting or?
No, there's nothing here that is any more, you know, sensitive or unstable than anything else that you piece. You know, it's sewn by hand, but you're using a very strong thread. You've got really tiny stitches. I love to quilt these with a straight line just because it allows the piecing to really shine through, but I've also seen some really great free motion done on top of them.
Oh, this is incredible.
Wall hangings, pillows, make more of them and you can do a full quilt.
Wall hangings, peacocks. Right, because we also have a peacock. So is the peacock a kit too?
It is not a kit yet. It is a brand new pattern. It's a new one that's coming out.
Got it. Maybe someday soon.
This is what it looks like. Yes, this one's on its way.
Violet, you rock. Thank you so much for being here. Your stuff is incredible. I'm always so very impressed, and I appreciate you taking the time to share all of this with the Man Sewing fans. You are amazing. And for everybody else out there, make sure you thank Violet as well in the comments below because she put a lot of time and effort into all of this design work and we absolutely love it. We'll see you next time right here at Man Sewing. Thanks for being a Man Sewing fan. It's great to have you out there encouraging me to create fantastic new content. If you've missed any of the videos, we've got links for you here and here. And while you're checking those out, make sure you're subscribed. We don't want you to miss any of the action.